What is up, my friends? It is Saturday night, and I hope that you're having a good weekend so far. Loads for us to get through. Of course, we're going to look ahead to the game tomorrow night. We're going to be asking how serious a contender is Arnie Slot for the Liverpool job, and loads of other bits and pieces. Thank you for being patient. I know I'm a couple of minutes late. My daughter had friends around, so we were just saying goodbye to them before I jumped on. So yes, I hope you're all good. I mean, did you watch the FA Cup semi-final earlier on? It was interesting, to say the least. I was watching it, and we were in our Discord group chatting away as we were keeping an eye on it, and I think the general consensus was that yet again Manchester City seemed to get away with a load of things that others wouldn't, but nothing unusual about that. So, how are we all doing? Okay, so anybody okay? Just checking out the chat. Sorry, guys. Cool. Who's the late contender? It's Arnie Slot. Like, that's the late contender to the job. He has been. Look, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Liverpool manager. I'm just saying to you, this is another name that's come to the fore over the past 24 hours or so as somebody who Michael Edwards is running the rule over. But I still believe it will be Ruben Amorim. Pedro Sepulveda has been speaking as well about the Amorim situation. He believes there's absolutely zero chance that Amorim stays at Sporting Lisbon. And if that's the case, it feels like Liverpool will be his next destination. But we can't just ignore all the news because who we want. You know, I want Ruben Amorim, but I'm trying to be balanced here and make sure that we talk about any contenders. But there is a load for us to get through, so where shall we start off? I mean, more stories today linking us with Varela as well from Porto. There's some talk about the Vitesse Arnhem situation. I'm not sure if you've seen that. They've been deducted 18 points in the Eredivisie and relegated because of financial irregularities linked to the Roman Abramovich situation. So there's that to go through as well. Right, I'm getting very worried about a manager search. Almost as bad as the point is Ireland search for one. Oh, don't even talk to me about the Irish managerial search, mate. You know, we were told April, now we're told September, and it's just the arrogance they're showing towards John O'Shea that actually winds me up more than anything there. But look, that's for another day. Arsenal are 1-0 up, yes, James, and everybody else in the chat. Leandro Trossard gave them the lead there, so Arsenal currently 1-0 up in the Saturday night football game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. No surprises if Arsenal win that one, to be fair, but it is interesting to note that we play twice before Manchester City next play in the league. So obviously we play tomorrow, and then we take on Everton midweek as well. So I think if we can put the pressure on City, you never know. You never know. I'm not expecting them to drop points, but you never know. Right, I'm going to go into your comments while I just gather myself here, because it was a bit of a rush job to get live, so I'm still getting my bearings, so I do apologise for that one. Imagine if he doesn't, the biggest plot twist. No, I really feel it will be Ruben Amorim, but I feel like we have to discuss the Arnie Slot situation because he was a contender for the Spurs job before Ange Postecoglou, and he is somebody who's very highly thought of amongst coaching circles, and it's no surprise to me that his name has been put forward for the Liverpool job. I just don't feel he's the right fit. How am I? I'm good, thank you, Michael. I'm good. A few little bits and pieces behind the scenes that I'm just trying to figure out and sort out. But other than that, my man, I'm good. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. Hopefully, we can actually put in a decent performance. I mean, I'm pretty fed up of listening to sound bites from players. I want them to just go out there and get the job done tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know. I just have a strange feeling of optimism at the minute around Liverpool Football Club. And I probably have no right to feel that way. But I guess if I don't feel that way, there's no point in watching. Who's Slot? Right, I mean, it's a fair question, and let's go into that, and we'll talk about Arnie Slot and who he is. Is he a worthy applicant? And we'll go from there, if that's okay. Right, let me just get my screen open here. So many things. You go on a website these days, so many things to click on. Right, so we do believe that Ruben Amorim is still the favourite, but Arnie Slot has been mentioned quite a bit since he's done such a good job with Feyenoord. And it's a huge step to manage Feyenoord in the Eredivisie, to come in then to manage Liverpool Football Club. But I guess you could say the same about managing Sporting Lisbon and Ruben Amorim. I guess my pushback there would be, I think the Portuguese league's probably a bit stronger than the Eredivisie. But Arnie Slot will be somebody who will move on to a big job at some point. I just don't believe it's going to be now at Liverpool Football Club. I think this is just trying to keep the conversation going amongst the journalists. I mean, a couple of Liverpool outlets have run with this story today, but all of them still revert back to thinking that Ruben Amorim was the most likely to come in and take over. As well, just want to wish Ben a happy holiday. Ben's off for a week vacation now, so you won't see Ben in the chat or the background for the next week. He's off on a family vacation, so hope he has a great trip. And it'll be myself and Mr. Crosby taking you through the next week. Thoughts on Alan Varela and Kudus links, said AP. So, I've got to ask you guys about the Kudus links, because somebody mentioned it to me in Discord last night, but I've not really seen anything about the Mohamed Kudus links to Liverpool. Look, he's a great player. I wouldn't say no, but I've not seen anything myself on it, but maybe it's something from social media that I've missed out on. Talks on Alan Varela. We've been linked to Varela for at least a year now that I can remember. And I don't know if this is just lazy journalism because he's playing in the Portuguese Primeira Division where, of course, Ruben Amorim is playing his trade as a coach. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to the links or not. But I do know that the price tag seems kind of in FSG's sweet spot, right? Somewhere about £55 million there or thereabouts. What about Gary O'Neill? Plays good football, said Alex Macklin. He does, but I don't know if it's too soon for him. I think he needs to have another step forward before coming to a club the size of Liverpool. Although Gary O'Neill does have history with the club managing, I think it was our under-18s, if my memory is correct. But I don't know. Look, I feel like that's too much of a risk, personally. You know, it's not, when you're managing Liverpool or United or, I guess, pick another top European club, you have to have more than just good managerial ability. You have to have pulling power. You have to have name recognition. And I don't know how strong his name recognition would be in the footballing world. Paul Joyce saying we're about to announce the Zerbi. Is he? Would you like to throw me in a link to that so I can have a look at it? Because I very, 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 very... Am I stuck on very? I think I might be. I'd be very surprised, mate, if Paul Joyce said we're bound to announce the Zerbi, particularly when Bayern Munich are probably the ones frantically trying to get De Zerbi's agent on the phone as Julian Nagelsmann has agreed a new deal with the German national team. Craig, love these lives. Thank you for all that you do. Mate, never any need to thank me. Go. Appreciate your support, mate, though. I really do. But no need to thank me. It's a pleasure. Arnie Slot could be you for Halloween. I know. We were only talking about that when we were doing that to thumbnail. People are like, why is Craig on the thumbnail twice? But yeah, he could very well be. City fan called me salty for saying City deserve to be in League 2. Well, I would agree with you. You know, and it looks like Pep Guardiola could be jumping ship next season as well. So there is no Paul Joyce tweet, which means, unless our friend JPLFC can pull that actual link out of his backside, you're going to get banned. Because we don't have liars, mate. We don't put up well with lies. So if you can't prove the Paul Joyce stuff, bye-bye. And Gory and others are saying he's talking crap. I think he is as well. So I think we're all in agreement there. Super chat or not, we'll start you off with a timeout, mate. We'll give you a timeout first, and we'll go from there. Next, Zidane is Craig. Zidane won't be coming to Liverpool. There was a report in one of the newspapers yesterday that... Hang on a sec, folks. Yeah, sorry, I had to kick something out from under my desk. There was a report in one of the newspapers that he might be interested in the United job, though, which is... probably makes more sense than the Liverpool job, but the same problem would still be there. He doesn't speak English. Where's Pep going? I don't know exactly where, but there was reports yesterday again to say that City are starting to worry now that Pep Guardiola won't extend past when his contract expires in 2025, and it looks as if they're starting to maybe look up a replacement. Chelsea got robbed with the pen. Yes, no argument. At least one, I would say, mate. Look, I don't know how you guys feel, but to see Michael Oliver, Mr. I love a good Nixer over in Abu Dhabi or Qatar, refereeing Man City again and Man City getting away with stuff, it doesn't sit well. It just doesn't. Yeah. And I see, do you know what got me about the game? It's the amount of tactical fouls again. Like De Bruyne tracking back, fouling people, no yellow cards. There is some love in for Manchester City that I just do not understand. Whether it be the pundits being biased towards them, because again, I had lots of people in my Discord moaning about BBC's coverage of the semi-final. I was watching it on Premier Sports, so I don't know. Saying that it was very biased towards Manchester City in the commentary. Smacks of corruption, Craig. Well, at the very best, it's not a good look, right? So I don't know Michael Oliver, and I'm not accusing him of anything directly. But it isn't a good look when referees from the Premier League are off doing these handy little side jobs for better money over in Qatar, Abu Dhabi, wherever it is. It's not a good look, is it? Or Saudi. It doesn't look great when you have teams that are owned by those states in the Premier League giving these referees handy little side jobs. It's not a good look. How much would you accept for Mo? There we go. Straight into the selling Mo again. Right. I'm going to put it to you then. Rather than you asking me how much I'd accept for Mo, I'm going to put it to you guys in the chat. So, 2 polls. First one. Nope, not that. Sorry, folks. First one, we're just going to ask this simple question. Is it time to sell Mo? I've had my say in it, and I don't want people aiming it at me. I want you guys to decide. So, is it time to sell Salah? Simple poll, and we'll start with that one. We'll leave that running for about 15-20 minutes. We'll come back to it. And then if you guys say, you do think it's time to sell, then we'll ask for the prices. So for me, Paul, I would look for a fee over £85 million. Danny said, Craig, I was removed from your Discord for having my own opinion, no aggression or insulting to anyone. I know of the situation, Danny, but I don't know what went on. So I'm going to have to look back over it. I'm not trying to pawn you off or anything. Off the top of my head, mate, I don't know the whole situation. So let me just touch base with the moderators and I will get back to you. If you want to drop me an email or anything, we can look at it that way. But I just need to gather the information first before I can give you a fair response. I would sell Salah because he's getting old and I would want 100 million or more, said Mason Cowan. I don't know if we keep him. He has numbers. See, on the numbers thing, right? The numbers thing is semi-true. But what I find about the Mohamed Salah numbers situation is I can't deny he's our top scorer. I can't deny that he started the season well. But I'd love to see some type of... Well, we did it the other day, didn't we? Big chances versus those being put away. And it's on a 50-50. I think it was 7 big chances scored, 7 big chances missed in the Premier League if we ran through the stats we had the other day. Which is fair enough. 1 in 2 is fair enough. But I just feel like he's not as impactful in a game as he was. But I don't want to taint the poll. I'm going to leave it run. Great show as usual. Well, it hasn't been so far, Canters, mate. I've been a little bit all over the place. If I'm not in a rhythm when I start the show, I find that I have to play catch up, but I'm getting there. Last tweet even mentioning Joyce and De Zerbi was Xabi De Zerbi and Amram among the candidates being considered for the manager position at Liverpool. Yeah, and that was 21st of March. So thank you, Mark, for doing that bit of background work for me. Great show as usual, said Canters. I hope Mo stays. Personally, I'd sell Diaz first. Great work rate, but no end product. I would like more end product from Diaz. I do agree with you on the great work rate as well. I think Diaz has looked better since probably... Was it February or so? We need to sell Costas and test youth if we need to buy another left back or not. Well, we do have one for Azcan. And thank you for your comment, mate. We do have Luke Chambers at the club. And you probably remember his name because Xabi Alonso was looking to bring him on loan to Leverkusen. I can't remember if it was last season or this season. But Liverpool didn't want to loan him out. Or didn't want to sell him, sorry. So he may be a name that might come through over the summer. So definitely keep an eye on that name for the left wing-back position. I think I agree with you. I would sell Costas. I'd keep Robertson, and I'd see what happens with Chambers, but I wouldn't be against looking at that area if the new manager doesn't think that Chambers is ready yet. How's your day been? Keep Mo, but play him as a 9, said Issa Sheikh. My day's been okay, thank you, my friend. I hope yours has been good. My problem with keeping Mo is not anything other than the contract situation, Issa. If I'm being really, really honest with you, mate, I said this yesterday as well. If Mo had 3 years left on his deal, I wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't be talking to you about selling him. I wouldn't be even floating the idea of selling him. But I think where we're at now, with 1 year to go, it's either going to be one or two things. There is a third option, but the third option is stupidity, which is let him run down his deal and leave for nothing. That's just the height of stupidity. So I think it comes down to two options. Keep him and give him a new deal, or sell him. And for me, personally, and I've said this many times, I don't think he's worth a pay rise. And I don't think he would sign a contract without a pay rise. So for me, it comes down to selling him. But I do agree with you that I wouldn't mind seeing him through the middle. I've been saying that for a very long time. At the moment, one of the problems I see us having with Mo is that we're giving him the ball, or he's receiving the ball too far away from the opposition goal, and he's having to work his way in to create the chances. And he hasn't seemingly got the ability to go past players as much anymore. So maybe putting him central would give us, or him, an opportunity. But other than that, I do think he's fading. Galatasaray want to sign Gravenberch. Would you loan? I was actually going to move on to talk about that interest from Galatasaray in Gravenberch. Would I loan? I don't want to give up on Ryan Gravenberch. I don't. You know, I know people are frustrated. But look at it this way. 40 million doesn't seem a ridiculous price. He's still, 21, 22. He's playing catch-up, and he hasn't been given consistent game time at Liverpool. I think, and I stand over this, he's probably one of our best ball carriers, taking the ball through the lines, and there is a lot to work with there. So, no, I don't think I'd be looking to loan him out to Galatasaray or anywhere else. I think if the club don't think that there's a future there, sell him, but I would personally keep him. Salah has been a great servant to Liverpool, but all careers at clubs must come to an end. Cash in and at least put it towards a high-priced younger player, said Will. And thank you for your input, Will. Appreciate you, bro. I think you've summed it up very well, Will. It's a tough situation. We always talk about this because you have to divide Mohamed Salah between the here and now plus what he's done for us. And what he's done for us is without question. His place in Liverpool folklore as a great at the club, that's not up for debate. Whatever happens in this situation, if he's sold, if he signs a new deal, whatever, his place in our history is there. And nobody will ever debate that, or nobody should ever debate his brilliance, because he has been an absolute phenomenon since he's joined the club. But his best days are behind him, and this is where the likes of a Michael Edwards or a Richard Hughes earn their crust, making these difficult, but if we're being really honest with ourselves, probably correct decisions in looking towards selling any player. Apologies, Craig. I'm a massive fan of the channel. I appreciate that, JP, and that's why I just timed you out, mate, because I didn't want to be an asshole towards you, but you know, the people are emotive at the minute, and if Paul Joyce did tweet about De Zerbi, that would cause Liverpool internet to go into meltdown, because you know, if Paul Joyce tweets, we listen. So appreciate your apology and appreciate your support of the channel, but you know what I mean about the other thing. We got to keep it factual. How's your wife's training going? Oh, it's good, but it's physical, it's demanding, and look, we don't know if she'll make it through the whole 3 weeks. We don't know if she's going to be up to the physical demands. We hope so. I'm incredibly proud of her no matter what. But, you know, she's going into week 2 on Monday, and we'll see what happens from there. But look, whatever happens, I'm incredibly proud of my wife for again wanting to put herself back out there and challenge herself. It's the reason I married her. She's just an incredible woman. And I love that you guys inquire about her in a kind way. So thank you for that, mate. I appreciate you. Salah needs to go this summer. Well, look, let's look at the poll. So it's been running 8 minutes now, and I could let it go on, but I don't think there's any need to, because we've asked you guys, is it time to sell Salah? And 86%. It's even higher than we ran this the last time. We ran it last week, and I think it was about 70%. And now it's up to 86%. So I think you can end that poll and get to the price point that you'd accept for Salah. Now, before we put this up, I just want you guys to be realistic. It's very easy to click on 150 million or something, but let's try and think realistically. Who was going to pay the figures we're asking for? Because it's probably going to be Saudi or PSG. They're the only two clubs that I'm aware of, or two options that I'm aware of. So let's just ask for the price. Let's have a look here. So 1 second. Obviously, these figures are all in millions, by the way. Seconds. Right, there we go. I've given you 3 options. 3 options in the poll. 60 to 80, 80 to 100, or above 100. They're the 3 options. Obviously, I mean million for those. So I'll leave that there for you to vote on. The Liverpool Prophet said, Craig, how do you feel about Arnie Slot, and how serious are the club about him? How do I feel about him? I understand why he's under consideration. How serious are the club's intentions about him? I would say he's a fallback option, but it's really difficult, mate, because you've got people with different viewpoints on how far along Liverpool are in the process. But what I don't think is debatable is that there have been conversations with only one agent that have taken serious consultation, and that's Amram's. So I would say I still expect Amram. After that, Slot would be... he'd be a wildcard choice. He would. I wouldn't feel comfortable personally, but maybe I'm doing the man a disservice. I just feel like I've held the same position all the way through. It's got to be either Alonso or Amarim. It isn't going to be Alonso. So for me, I don't even want to think past Amarim, because after that, my confidence level just goes downhill. Please just get the job done with Amarim, said Sergu. I agree, and I think, and I hope we get movement on it. So, one thing I did wanted to bring to your attention was an article that was written around Pedro Sepulveda, who is somebody who's been pretty constant on the Ruben Amorim situation and pretty forthcoming with the information about where we're at. So, we said to you guys yesterday that Sporting's president wants to keep Ruben Amorim at the club. But Pedro Sepulveda has said there's zero chance that Ruben Amorim stays at the club past the end of this season. Now, he didn't go on to say that it's absolutely 100% nailed on that he comes to Liverpool, but he does believe it's absolutely concrete that he will depart Sporting for another project at the end of the campaign. What's this? Craig, Ryan has not been given a minute that's solely on Klopp. He'd probably get more minutes under the next manager. Can you compare his minutes this season with last season at Bayern? I'd have to spend time researching, Harry, but I agree with you. I don't think Ryan Gravenberch has been given a fair shake this season from Jurgen Klopp, nor has Harvey Elliott, in my opinion. Elliott's been used as an impact sub when I think he should have started way more games. But what does worry me most is Szoboszlai. I can't figure out the look of fatigue from Szoboszlai, because, you know, he's been out for a while and I just don't understand how he's fatigued, or at least he looks that way. Will this summer be a player rebuild? I wouldn't say it's going... I wouldn't use the term rebuild, but reshape, maybe. You know, any summer you would expect at least 2 new bodies through the door. But in this summer, I think we might see a few more. It's really difficult to give you an honest answer when I don't know how Ruben Amorim looks at the squad. If Kloppo was still here I could probably give you a far clearer answer. I would expect some good changes. Now, I want to just say there was a report earlier on that people were sending into my Discord that came from, I want to say somebody who's pretending to be a French journalist. Something Plateau, the dude's name was. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but one sec, I'll get you his name now. Where is it? Yeah, Francois Plateau. This dude has been putting a post up that I think is absolute pony, and I would put him in the Indy Kayla category. He said, Michael Edwards has returned to Liverpool and some of the players signed during his absence are now at risk of being sold to fund new signings better suited to the new manager's style of play. Edwards not impressed with the signings made in the last 2 years. I would say that's crap, to be honest with you. So, you know, I know everybody is unsure of who to believe, who not to believe on social media, and especially when they've got the old blue check mark beside their name, but I've heard nothing that can back that up. And nor have other people I've reached out to. Nobody has got the same feeling that Edwards has been unimpressed with the signings over the last 2 years. Mahmood, how are you, my friend? I know there is a slim chance for the Premier League, but think about it. Liverpool will play 2 Premier League games before City. If we win, we go 4 points clear, and that puts pressure on. Definitely. There's no denying it's better to have points in the bank, mate, but we've got to go win those 2 games first. Manchester City, in my opinion, got away with it today, and they didn't look great. If Chelsea had have taken their chances, I think they would have been out of sight. But I hope they have a wobble in the league. I certainly do. And yeah, it's better to have points on the board, but I still can't say anything other than they're favourites. They're clear favourites at this point. But all we can do is beat Fulham tomorrow and see where we go from there. Szoboszlai will be better behind the striker under Amorim, said AP. Yeah, look, my belief in his ability is never wavered. I'm just confused as to why he looks so fatigued. Yeah, I mean, he's a young man and he hasn't been overplayed this season, in my opinion. So that's the part I'm struggling with. But I've no doubts about Szoboszlai's ability, none whatsoever. Tuchel took over BVD in Mainz when Klopp left. Should we look at him? So I'm a little bit biased on this one. Is it Arnell or Amel? So for me, it would just be like getting a watered down version of Klopp. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but and also I've never been able to take to Thomas Tuchel. I don't know. There's just something about him that I don't like. I don't know what it is, because he's not done it to me. But should he be under consideration? Yeah, probably should be considered. You know, he's been a manager that's got to 3 semi-finals of the Champions League with 3 different clubs, won the Champions League once, has been at big clubs. Yeah, there's a lot of boxes that Thomas Tuchel would tick, but I just don't see him having the right type of personality for us. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's my own dislike of him ruling my my thought process. Glenroy checking in from Jamaica. Love it, my man. Love it. Very jealous. You know, some of the places that you guys are lucky to live in, I get very jealous when you check in like yourself there. Sprina? Or is that Lucas? Craig, can you do an Anfield Agenda live show from Brady's in Shankill? God, it's been a long time, Sean, since I've set foot in Brady's. Although I'll never call it Brady's. It's always going to be Mickey Burns to me. But, yeah, I haven't even been in Shankill in quite a while. I've no reason to go there anymore now that my parents have passed away. So, yeah, God, that brings back memories, mate. Many happy memories. Throw money at Ange, said Positivity Zone. You're not going to get him out of Spurs. I mean, Daniel Levy is a tough negotiator at the best of times, so I don't really think there's much chance of us going in to get Ange Postecoglou out of Spurs. Now, what may have done us a little favour, inadvertently, so England aren't going to get that 5th Champions League spot now. It's going to go to Germany. Italy have already got the first one. It looks like the second one, barring It's going to Germany. I mean, I could give you the spiel, but it's going to Germany. And that may, in a way, play into our favour. Because, of course, Spurs have a big part to play. You know, they play Arsenal, they play us, they play Man City. And Spurs will have to try to get something if they want to be in the Champions League next season. Obviously, they're in a battle with Aston Villa. So I wonder, you know, can Spurs maybe be the ones that pull us a miracle out of the bag? I'm trying to remember, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Spurs game Man City's second to last game? Is that the same week we play Aston Villa, or have I got that wrong? Greetings from Cop on the Rock of Gibraltar. Nice. Nice, mate. Ange would be mental. Being slapped a few times this season. Newcastle and Fulham. Yeah, he's a real... It would be a risk. Like, I would almost say he's almost overly attack-minded, if that makes any sense. But you have to say, when Spurs have been at it, they've been enjoyable to watch. But you're right, they have had their ass slapped a few times this season as well. So I got a little bit of good news. There are a couple more tickets for the show in Belfast still around. So good news is there's a little bit more availability after being freed up. So if you were coming to the show in Belfast or you're worried about it selling out, there could be a couple more tickets available. So keep an eye on that situation. Of course, Dublin is going to be June the 2nd. Those tickets are on sale on Ticketmaster for both of those shows. Would love it if you guys could come along. Belfast, May 31st. Dublin, June the 2nd. And we've just signed the contract for Cardiff as well, which is going to be August the 2nd over at the Richard Burton Theatre in Cardiff. We will be selling those tickets ourselves, so I'll let you know when we're going to stick them on sale. Emery, a dark horse for the manager's job. I don't think, again, Steve, you're going to get him out of Aston Villa. You know, he's on the edge of bringing them into the Champions League. He could win the Europa Conference League with them as well. They've got very ambitious, very rich owners who won't want to lose a manager of Emery's calibre. So I don't think it's a realistic opportunity for us, if I'm being honest. I can't see him or Postecoglou being realistic options. Gravenberch to Galatasaray. It's been linked, Mark. There's a couple of stories to say that they're interested in going all in for Ryan Gravenberch. Personally, mate, I wouldn't sell him. Let's check in on the poll, though, about the price for Salah at the top. So we said Salah price 60 to 80 million, 80 to 100 million, or above 100 million. With it heading towards 850 votes so far, it's pretty clear that most of you guys are in the 80 to 100 million category. I think I'm with you, if I'm honest. I think I'm probably the higher end of that, but I think you start off at 80 anyway as your minimum and go up towards the 100. I think I'm in agreement with you guys on that one. I think the price for Salah would depend on if he's going to America or elsewhere. Yeah, of course. I mean, we're talking about Saudi being the most realistic option. But there's one thing that I guess we have to ask ourselves as well is, would he want to go to Saudi now? Like, is he ready to basically give up on top level football to go and play in what would be, I guess, his retirement phase of his career, the last 3-4 years? I've no doubt it would be a huge get for that league and for that part of the world. We certainly know that they have the money for it, but I just don't know if he's ready. You know, I've not heard anything about this, but I've always had it at the back of my head that PSG could be a realistic option because of his friendship with PSG's president and, of course, the fact that they're going to lose Kylian Mbappe. Score prediction for tomorrow. I went 2-1, so I'm going to stick with that one. Is Niko Kovac an option for the job? He was linked, but he himself has said there's nothing to it. I brought you guys a quote from him last week where he was being asked about it. There's some Bundesliga clubs that are interested in bringing him back to the Bundesliga, but no, I don't think he's a serious consideration. He even mentioned it himself that there's nothing to those rumours. Salah always dips in form for the rest of the season after the AFCON. It's so annoying. So, I don't have the numbers to hand, Harry, but I did read an article recently that kind of pointed out exactly what you've said, that he does fall away after the AFCON, and it is frustrating for us, but there's nothing we can do about it, really. You know, if Mohamed Salah's at the club and the AFCON's on, of course, you know, he's going to go and play for his country, same as any other player that's selected to play in the AFCON. But you are right, mate, he does drop off after his exploits at the AFCON. But there's not much we can do about it. Did Andre get a move? Not that I'm aware of, Steve. Not that I'm aware of, mate. Unless it was really under the radar. Two leagues that were strongly most linked with Andre Trinidad were the Premier League and Serie A. And we know he hasn't come to the Premier League, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think he's gone to Serie A either. Shouldn't sell players like Salah. He can help with squad depth in case a key starter is injured. I think you're forgetting the biggest part of all of this, though. If you don't sell him, you either lose him for free in a year, or you have to renegotiate his contract and probably give him a pay rise. And that will take up a lot of money for the club, rather than moving on your highest earner, who's had a dip, who's getting on in age, and would not only free up a lot of money that you can amortize across another player's contract, but would bring in a significant transfer fee. So I think it's a no-brainer to sell Salah at this point. You know, we need to live in the real world. If we want the manager to have money, knowing the owners that we have, and I'm not saying this is the right way to do things, by the way, but the owners that we have are frugal as being generous. And if we want whoever the next manager is, and I think it'll be Ruben Amorim, to be able to go out there and mould a squad in his image, I think that 80 to 100 million that we're talking about for Mohamed Salah, on top of whatever the rest of the transfer budget is, could put a big dent in that. And we need to refresh the age profile as well. So I just think it's a no-brainer to sell him. What's this one? This is Anfield have reported that Owen Beck, who's on loan at Dundee, has been voted into the Scotland Premier League Team of the Year after a standout campaign on loan at Dundee. Thank you for that, Mark, and well done to Owen Beck. Fantastic. The great nephew, I believe, of Ian Rush, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I just wanted to draw your attention to something, just in case any of you are in and around the Anfield area. There's a Shankly Memorabilia Expo that's going to be held on the May Bank Holiday weekend at Hotel Anfield. Tickets are priced at £10 for adults and £5 for kids, and you can find out more about it at the X-Player store. So if you just put in www.xplayer, you'll be able to find it that way. .co.uk, I think it is. And it's basically an exhibit of 50 years since Bill Shankly. And if you're in that neck of the woods, I think it would be, you know, his family members are going to be there to talk you through some of the exhibits as well. And it's just something I came across when reading the Echo. So I wanted to highlight it to you guys, because if I was over at that time, I'd certainly give it a visit myself. But Shankly Memorabilia Expo over the May Bank Holiday weekend, going to be held at Hotel Anfield for anybody who is in that part of the world. Do you think we'll really go in? Do you think we will really go in for Colwill? I personally don't agree. See it being worth it. No, I think when he signed a new deal at Chelsea last year, I think that probably ended the interest in Liverpool in Levi Colwill. And look, he hasn't exactly had a standout campaign, has he, since? I would have loved him last year if we had had the opportunity to sign him, but I've not heard of anything current that links us to him. Is Arnie any good? Never heard of him. Well, yes, he's good. He delivered a league title with Feyenoord, but it just doesn't feel right for me. You know, look, I have to say this pretty clearly. I'm not trying to say, or nobody's trying to say, he's the front runner for the job, but he's just another name that's come to the fore of those who are being looked at by Liverpool. And I would imagine that list is pretty extensive, you know. If you're looking for the next Liverpool manager, I'm sure you'll run the rule over every top coach in Europe, whether they're in a job or not. And Arnie Slot had been linked with a move away from Feyenoord for a while. Spurs looked at him before they gave Ange Postecoglou the job. In fact, I thought he was going to get the Spurs job. So he will move somewhere eventually. I just don't want us to be the guinea pigs in that scenario. But some people might say that the same thing with Ruben Amorim. And maybe it's because I've researched Ruben Amorim a little bit more that I've got more belief. Just came in. Can I get a brief on Contender? I think I just went through it, Harry, if you're asking about the manager stuff. How does Amorim's system work? I mean, it's a 3-4-3, Scotty, that bases itself off a lone striker with two number 10s that can provide the width in attack but can go more central and more compact when we need to defend, or when his teams need to defend. They also play with a very good low block. His defensive record with Sporting Lisbon is quite impressive, and a low block is something we know we've struggled with. So, and maybe a manager that knows how to use a low block is one that can maybe help us unpick a low block. Also, you know, with those wing-back systems, they're the ones that get up and down the flanks for him, providing you 5 in defence and then extra bodies in attack. But once he is confirmed as Liverpool manager, I'll do a more up-to-date video on his tactics, his style. He's very much a mixture between Klopp's pressing from the front, but more Pep Guardiola, Xabi Alonso's kind of keeping possession and ever so intentionally moving players into certain areas. I'm still catching up myself, and I'm not going to sit here and profess to be an expert on all things Ruben Amorim, but there are plenty of videos out there that are worth a good watch. If you're looking for information on him, there's been loads of content creators that have done pretty good work actually on Ruben Amorim. Is Amorim still the front runner to be manager? Yes. Look, I would say 85% that Ruben Amorim is going to be the next manager. Yeah, I feel I'd be shocked if he wasn't. So tonight's stream wasn't to try and say that Slot is going to get the job. It's just that his name has been mentioned across a few articles today in Liverpool circles, and our job is to bring the stories to you guys and talk about them. 5 minutes left in the Arsenal-Wolves game. Not looking good for Wolves. They're still losing 1-0. Thank you for that update. Mark Fitchin, thank you for the super chat, mate. You didn't put a comment in, but or maybe it's a super sticker, is it? Thank you, appreciate you. I fear a 3 centre-backs tactic works in. I don't know what the rest of that is, mate. Look, I've always liked the idea of playing with 3 centre-backs, but Jurgen's been very adamant that his 4-3-3 system is the way he wants to play. But the modern trend these days for a lot of continental managers has been to go to a 3 at the back system. I just think if we are to go that way, we need to bring in at least 2 centre-backs. And, taking into account we're losing John Matip, we probably would have needed 1 anyway. So I think now we probably need 2. Craig, honestly, I think Arsenal have more chance chasing down City than us. Their loss last week was just a freak result. I don't know about that. They went over to play Bayern Munich and didn't do anything over there. And they've got more difficult fixtures. They've got a North London derby coming up. Look, I'm not saying we're going to chase down City, but I think I feel quite confident to say I expect Arsenal to drop more points over their last 6 games. This is why I said when they were playing Manchester City that I wanted them to beat City, because I wanted City to be further and further away from them and us, because I always felt confident that Arsenal would drop points over the last 6 or 7 games. I don't have that same confidence with City, and I don't like saying it, but I do. We know they're capable of going and winning every one of their last games. I don't think Arsenal are. Spurs will beat Arsenal, said Alex Macklin. City draw and the league could go to 3-way goal difference. I know, that would be nuts, wouldn't it? Especially because we're in the worst position right now. If that was to happen, Arsenal obviously would be in the box seat. Yeah, so it is my. I just can't. Do you know what? I can't lie. I can't get past last weekend. Just knowing that if we beat Palace, we'd be sitting here now. We'd be still a bit annoyed after going out of Europe, but we'd be saying to ourselves, "Win your last 6 games and you win the Premier League." I can't get past that. It's really, really, really angered me because you see Jurgen Klopp come out with, the quotes to say we're going to give it everything. Players come out to say we're going to give it everything, and ultimately you're a week or two too late. Should have given it everything 2 weeks ago. Should have given it everything against Palace. Shouldn't have been beaten by a shit Palace team. They're just empty words to me at this point because there's been too many sound bites, not enough action from the players and the manager. So what I want to see tomorrow is a change from Jurgen. I don't want to see him putting out Jones, Szoboszlai, the same team over and over again because they're underperforming. And they need to be shown that if you're not up to it, you're going to be benched. Now, to be fair to Jurgen, he did bench Darwin. He did take Mo off recently against Atalanta when he wasn't looking himself. So I hope tomorrow we see more changes. Did my alarm go off? No, it wasn't mine, mate. It was somebody else's. Would Flick to Liverpool be a good thing? Some people will like the idea of Hansi Flick. I wouldn't think it's the most ludicrous idea in the world. I'm not willing to look past Ruben Amorim. I just think it will be a good fit. And I know how much Michael Edwards appreciates Ruben Amorim. There was talk that he was Edwards' favourite even when Alonso was technically still undecided. There was loads of chatter that Michael Edwards preferred Ruben Amorim. So honestly, I feel like Ruben Amorim will be the next Liverpool manager. I wouldn't mind the Dortmund coach. He looks decent. Well, look, he's guided his team into a semi-final of a Champions League. Not to be ignored. So surprised to see Dortmund get to a Champions League semi-final. I really am. But do you know what's been mad as well? Look how poor Napoli are this season. It doesn't even look like Napoli are going to get into Europe via the league. It's shocking. A team that won the league last year and won it well, just completely fallen asunder this season and look nowhere near the same team. Neil Jones reckons we should still consider Gerrard. Look, I don't know Neil Jones personally. I think he's a decent journalist. I always enjoy his takes on things, and I think he's fairly fair in what he says. But I would strongly disagree with Neil Jones on that one. I think if you polled Liverpool fans on it, in fact, you know what? I'm going to poll you guys on it. So the Salah price, we've had 1,250 votes there or thereabouts. 51% of you guys think the price tag for Mohamed Salah should be 80 to 100 million pound. Is Diaz our only cover for Salah? It depends what way you look at it. Kate Gordon, Kate Gordon is one option on the right. Ben Doak, the other option. Younger again, you've got Trent Cone-Doherty coming through. But realistically, people could say to you, Szoboszlai could be an option there. Elliott could be an option there. I just don't think the conversation should be about wingers when the next manager is most likely not going to play in a system with wingers in the same way that we would think of utilising wingers. They're more wing backs, and that's why I don't think Salah would be a good fit, because I don't think he has the engine to get up and down, and he has been lacking defensively recently, which is something I've never labelled at Mo. He's always been somebody that's helped the team and tracked back, but since the AFCON and the injury, he doesn't look the same. Oh, so, right, Paul Gerrard. Right. 1 second. Right, here's your poll. Steven Gerrard as Liverpool manager next. Yes or no? I will leave that with you guys to vote. And I hope that there's sanity that prevails here. What's the manager twist? The twist is that Arnie Slot's name has been mentioned throughout a few Liverpool publications today. Not saying that he's nailed on, not saying that he's taken Ruben Amorim's situation, just as another manager that Liverpool are keeping tabs on, impressed with. And I understand why. You know, Arnie Slot, as I said at the start of the stream, is somebody Spurs looked at before Postecoglou. He's somebody that I think will move on to a bigger job than Feyenoord, with all due respect to the Dutch club. I just don't think we need to worry. I think it's still going to be Ruben Amorim, but I guess the club are just being proficient in making sure that they leave no stone unturned. I guess the problem we have now is trying to strike the balance between leaving no stone unturned and taking too long. You know, because heaven forbid if we lost out on Amorim because somebody came in and just tried to get it all done quickly. That would be frustrating to say the least. Gaming Dog said, as a player, love Stevie G, but he can't be a manager. I love him as a player as well, mate. Without a shadow of a doubt, the hero of my years supporting Liverpool, pretty much. You know, him, Salah, I love Suarez as well, Bobby Firmino, players that I absolutely would never deny the impact they had at the club. And Gerrard will be an icon at Liverpool forever. But he is still to prove himself as a coach. And I think the biggest problem that Gerrard has is not so much that he went to Saudi, it's more what happened at Villa. I think that, to me anyway, that's the big X against them. Unai Emery turned around that Villa team and got far more out of them than Gerrard did. And that to me is the most damning thing of it all. You know, he did well at Rangers and we were all optimistic that after that maybe he comes down to England, takes over. I think he was linked with Leeds at one point, went into Villa and it was awful. Just didn't work out at all. And he was backed financially in the market. So that for me is the most worrying thing, is when he came down to the Premier League at a club with good players, he just wasn't getting that now of them. Did you see City covering up the empty seats? No? Did I miss that? Joshua? Do you know what I did see though? And it annoys me, and this isn't labelled at Man City or Chelsea, because it happens all the time. I'm getting sick of seeing showpiece games at Wembley with the best seats in the house, half of them empty because the corporates can't be bothered showing up. You know what I'm talking about. The ones on the halfway line, dead centre, those red plush seats that half of them are always empty. And you've got people there who would kill to be in those seats that have been up in the nosebleed sections or further away, and the best seats in the house, the ones that are most prominent on TV, are left empty. And I think it looks embarrassing for the FA. Alternative FM, thank you for your super chat, my friend, said, I'd take Slot if and only if Amorim doesn't come. So for me, worst case scenario, if Amorim didn't come, who would I be looking at? I think I'd probably be towards the Hansi Flick point then. It would have been Nagelsmann, but Nagelsmann obviously signed on for the German job. Hansi Flick, potentially, but it's just such a drop-off for me after Amorim. Yeah, I just can't look past Amorim. I can't. And I guess I just kind of refuse to until he's ruled out or named as Liverpool manager. 2-0 in the Arsenal game, so they've done their job. I know they're hospitality, Dylan. That's why I said the corporates can't be bothered showing up for them. They're hospitality seats that are being wasted. And I think that the sponsors whose people don't show up for them, I think there should be some type of system in place where those tickets are given to local charities or something. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't look great, does it? You know, I know sponsors and corporates have paid a lot of money to be a part of these occasions, but it doesn't look great when the seats are empty. In the best seats in the house as well, like, it just looks shit. So, full time in that game by the looks of it there, and Arsenal 2-0 winners. So, we need to go and do our job now tomorrow and make sure that we beat Fulham. Fudge Arsenal, said Danielle. Do me a favour, guys, if you haven't already, can you just take 1 second and hit that subscribe button as well? And drop a like on the stream. So these are the seats. Oh, okay. I've just been sent an image of those seats that they were being covered up, mate. There's such a tin pot club. I don't know what to say. Like, this is some of the hypocrisies of football that I keep talking about. We're told that they're this loved club, that they've got new fans all over the world, that they've got the second biggest following on social media or something like that. But you can't lie when you see the seats empty. Like, let me ask you guys this question. Do you think if that was Manchester United, Liverpool, who else could I say? I don't want to pick a London club because it's local for them, but there's no way that if United or Liverpool are in the semi-final, those seats are empty like that. That is embarrassing. And it just proves what a tin pot, soulless, oil-rich, pumped-up shithouse club they are. And they're fooling no one. I seen the camera pan to one guy at one point, some lone City fan, who was trying to give it the big one to the camera and start a sing-along, and nobody was interested. Nobody cared. They're just... And look, there is a loyal group of hardcore Manchester City fans, but they're not what they profess to be. Saudi Arabia wanted Salah last season for 150 million. We can get good money. Yes, but he was 1 year longer to go on his contract last year. So he's a year older, a year less on his contract. But I do agree with you, Nanzo, that we will probably get good money. I do agree with you on that part. Can you show us the photo of Man City filling them, please? Yeah, bear with me. I'm going to try drag it in for you here. 1 second. Bear with me while I just drag this down. There you go. I'll leave that up there for a second so you guys can have a little chuckle. So there you go. There's the image. It's mad. I remember when they got to I remember when they were playing Real Madrid in the quarterfinals. You know the way when Liverpool get to a quarterfinal, or when United get somewhere, you have to have your credits and you have to have all these certain things, and usually to get to an away quarterfinal of a Champions League, if you're supporting Liverpool or United or any big club, you're going to have a load of credits. You're probably going to have gone to every European away that season and maybe the season before. Manchester City, you just had to be a member before, I think it was 2 weeks before the game or something, to be eligible to go and buy tickets to watch Manchester City at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid. No matter what they say, no matter how much spin and how much fluffing the media give them, the empty seats can't lie. They can't fool us into thinking that they're this global super club when nobody gives a damn about them. But you know what gets me most? Is the love-in from the media. These same people, right? These same footballers, ex-players or pundits that profess to love the game are only too happy to adorn praise on a club that have had an unprecedented amount of charges against them. And it pisses me off. Because they're all part of the problem, in my opinion. Every conversation anybody has about that tin pot soulless club should be spoken about with 115 charges in the context. Everything they've won should be questioned. Every single bit of success they've had should be caveated by the fact that the whole thing looks like it could be built on fraudulent numbers, if what the Premier League are accusing them of are correct. And the love-in from the media is pathetic. City's treble parade, 134,000 likes. Liverpool's League Cup win, 240,000 likes. Yep. Look up Real Madrid's fan on City, Craig. It's everything you're saying. I think even Real Madrid fans were saying something like, if that was Manchester United that were over, you would have heard them. They'd never stop singing throughout the entire game. It's a joke. Am I going to do a watch along for the United game? Nope. I'm just going to do our game tomorrow. So what I might do tomorrow is do our game, match reaction, player ratings. I might come back on a 8:30 then as well. So probably going to just do that, do the stream, finish at about 7, and then come back on a 8:30, and then we'll pick the bones out of the weekend's action. I think Liverpool away to Fulham could end as a flop for us. I'm hopeful, but I don't know. Look, it's a tough game. Fulham are no mugs. They've caused us problems before, so we need to be at it. You know, if we haven't learned about complacency yet, we never will. You know, there's been a couple of times this season where I feel, and I think you guys probably feel similarly, that we've almost thought we've won the game before we started. Now, Klopp would never admit to this, and the players would never admit to it, but you can't tell me that we're not better than Crystal Palace. You can't tell me that we shouldn't be swatting away a poor Crystal Palace team at home. And that the performance against Atalanta wasn't filled with complacency either. It's just not good enough. And the fact that Jurgen seems to want to just keep rewarding these same players who are not performing is mind-boggling to me. Because he's got 6 games left of his Liverpool managerial career. And we went from playing with younger players, hungrier players, and winning, to bringing back in the quote-unquote first-teamers, and we've fallen away. It's mind-boggling. Was that just corporate seats? Which one, mate? Which one? If you're talking about those seats there, then very much no. They're not corporate seats. If you're talking about the ones that are empty in and around the halfway line on the lower end, yes, that's all corporate. But the upper one where the City flag and all is, and all those empty seats around there, no, that's just City not having a big enough fan base. You're doing a great job for our club. Thank you. Oh, look. Oh, there we go. Man City fan in. And the irony of this absolute clown to say Liverpool fans are crying about Man City when the Man City fan is on a Liverpool stream. Did you get like a bat signal? Is that what happens? Do Abu Dhabi send out a super bat signal when Craig talks about Manchester City? I would imagine that probably is what happens, because it's almost like you're like Beetlejuice. I talk about you 3 times and then all of a sudden you're there. I didn't know I had that much sway and power over Manchester City fans, mate, that I can drag you out of whatever you're doing, celebrating an FA Cup final, to come in and chat about Liverpool. How did you know I was talking about City? You didn't come into this stream knowing that we were talking about City. You're sitting there watching a genius at work, thinking to yourself, I wish we had somebody as charismatic, as handsome, and as goddamn funny as this man looking after our club. I know, mate, I get it. I know, look at me, I'm fucking amazing. I get it. But unfortunately you don't. And as I said, is the bat signal out? I'll say it again, hang on. Man City cheats! Let's wait a minute. I'm sure 2 or 3 of you will come in, or the bots will be active in a moment. But I get it. I understand it. But there's no way you knew we were talking about Manchester City from the title of tonight's stream. You came in here because you wanted a little slice of the big man, didn't you? Let's be honest, bro. It's alright, it's okay. You're Craig curious. I get it. It's normal. Normal everyday behaviour. When is Ben Doak back? Honestly, the more attackers we have, we actually seem hungrier. I don't know when he's back, to be honest with you. Sorry, I'm still enjoying my little bit of fun there with the City fan. Casper's Photography said, I've just checked. That was 100% an image from April 2022. Am I allowed to send the link to this Twitter post? Am I allowed to send the link? 1 sec. Let me just check this. You're right. No, you're right. To be fair, Casper, you're right. I'm looking at the jerseys on the pitch. You are right, mate. That is not from today's game. Credit where it's due. I am not somebody who will not admit when I'm wrong. That image is not from today's game. Because the players on that pitch, you can just make out some red shirts. So, Casper, you are absolutely correct. And for that, I have to apologise because I thought the image was the image. If we can find an image that shows that they had loads of empty seats, I'll show it again. But you are absolutely correct, mate. And fair play. I'm not afraid to put my hands up if I'm wrong. Do City fans live stream? Yes, they do. There's a very good Manchester City account ran by a guy called Stephen, called Esteemed Company, and he's a very good, knowledgeable, down to earth, sound, articulate fella. So they do have their own content creators. Yes. I think we've been turning up with too much arrogance and a little passion lately, Craig, said Will. I don't know about passion, Will, but the word I would use is we've looked lethargic and passive, not aggressive enough. You know, and what I haven't been able to figure out all season, and I assume you guys are probably the same, is how we're so lethargic starting games. You know, we used to come out of the blocks 100 miles an hour and swarm teams, and now we're almost writing off the first half. What about Graham Potter with the Brighton links? No, not for me. Not for me with Graham Potter. Look, I'm really protective over the Liverpool manager's job in my mind. And I think, look, this is a bit cheesy. But I look at the Liverpool manager's job as the pinnacle of anybody's career as a manager. Same with as a player. I look at Liverpool, coming to play for Liverpool, as the pinnacle of your career. So to be the Liverpool manager, you've got to be a special person as well as a great coach, a real leader on and off the pitch. And I don't get that vibe from a lot of the people we've been linked with. De Zerbi is one of the reasons I can't take to him, is I just don't see him as being that guy. I see Amarim being that type of guy. I seen Alonso being that type of guy. Klopp, of course, is that guy. But yeah, I don't know. It could be just me, mate. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just saying there are certain managers I just don't see. Like Zidane, when people were talking about Zidane, I'm not going to sit here and say Zidane isn't a good coach. What he achieved at Real Madrid wasn't incredibly impressive. I just don't think he's the Liverpool type coach. For instance, I never thought Jose Mourinho was a good fit for Manchester United because of his antics. He doesn't carry himself like a Manchester United manager would carry themselves. So maybe this is just my own stupidity or trying to think of the perfect situation. Man City has a better history than Liverpool. You've got no history, you clown. My God. Did they pick you lads up, I don't know, off the trains or something and just give you a Man City shirt? It's all I can think of. Either that or they're in arrivals at Manchester Airport just handing out season tickets to people when they're getting off planes. Because to come on with a straight face and say that you've got a better history than the most successful club in the history of English football, it's not only embarrassing, mate, but it's factually bullshit. You've got no history. You've got no soul. You've got nothing except 115 beautiful charges that prove that you guys are what we all think you are. So take your propaganda elsewhere, because we're not for it here, mate. Your club has no history. Other than relegation down to League 1 and 2. We can talk about that history all you want. Craig, who are we going to sign in the summer defence-wise? Don't know, Archie. I like the idea of Ruben Amorim bringing Inacio with him or Diamonde with him, but I don't know. I don't have any definitives that I can say to you. I can tell you who I'd like. I'd like Jamal Musiala or Florian Wirtz. I like Inacio. I wouldn't say no to Hincapié. Antonio Silva from Benfica as a centre-back I love. Don't know too much about Diamonde, if I'm being honest, other than he plays on the right side of the back three for Sporting and he's got a €70 million release clause. Do you know what position I'm struggling with, actually? And I'd love to get your thoughts on this one. If we were to go out and bring in a defensive midfielder this summer, who would you look for? If Liverpool had to... And I'm not saying writing off Endo. I don't mean it in this way at all. But I do think we could do another defensive midfielder. Who would you go for if you had the reins at Liverpool right now and we need a defensive midfielder? So I asked, should Stevie G be the next Liverpool manager? 82% of you guys said no. Glad to see sanity's prevailed. I see United are going to spend 400 million this summer. So Jamie's not messing around. Well, they can't spend 400 million this summer because they can't because of FFP. They couldn't even spend money in the last window because of profit and sustainability. So there's no way Jim Radcliffe's going to hand over £400 million. And also, what I think people are just escaping their notice as well is he still only owns 25% of that football club. He's taken over football operations, but he's going to have to get the go-ahead to spend that much money or any money from the other 75% of the shareholders. So he doesn't have free reign to just do whatever he wants there. And they got to move on a lot of players as well. So I don't see whether United have the ability to spend £400 million this summer. Although, to be fair, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how Chelsea had the ability to spend £1 billion in a year and still not fall afoul of PSR. Right, so let's go through some of your lists. We should have got Ugarte. I agree, Dara. I 100% agree with you, mate. I never, ever, ever understood how we just let him go to PSG and didn't put a bid in. I will never understand that, mate. So I'm with you on that. Andre said Rilan Rama Chendra. Potentially. I mean, I haven't really kept an eye on them since they won the Copa Libertadores, but yeah, potentially. Issa said Kimmich. I think he's going to go to Manchester City. Now, that's just guesswork, but I think they'll move on Calvin Phillips. There's some talk that Calvin Phillips could go back to Leeds if Leeds get promoted. And I think that they may bring in Joshua Kimmich to fill that space in the squad. Obviously, maybe I'm just being lazy, though, thinking about his relationship previously working with Guardiola. What else have we got there? Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. Have you got £100 million? Because that was the price they were quoting, which is ridiculous. He's a good player, but when we could have had him for pretty much free, what was it, a season and a half ago, I don't like the idea of 100 million now. And also, they won't sell because, as I said before, Villa have very wealthy owners who want to push the club forward. And if they get into the Champions League, they're not going to start asset stripping themselves. Polina, I think it's probably a year too far now for Polina. You know, we brought in Endo, who is an older defensive midfielder. The idea of going out and bringing in Polina, who'll be 30, I think that would just be too short-sighted. Tchouaméni, I don't think Real Madrid would sell Arlie and Tchouaméni, but, you know, he's a good player. Bruno Guimaraes, he's going to stay at Newcastle. He has bought a new house in Newcastle, or he's either bought or buying a new house in Newcastle. So I don't think he'll be departing. I think he's going to stay there. I have a feeling, and I don't know this for a fact, I have a feeling Isak may be the one they sell. Camavinga, I'd love. King Pop, I'd love Camavinga, but there's no way Real Madrid are letting him go. Florentino Luis is a good DM, said Trevor. So I think, doesn't he have 100 or 120 million euro release clause, Florentino Luis? He's the kid from Benfica, if I'm not mistaken. And there was something I read about him, about his attitude a while back, but I can't remember it clearly enough to... Yeah, I can't remember it clearly enough. Did you see Alisson's house is for sale? Yep. Yep, I'd seen another article speaking about that. Um, I don't know what that means, to be honest with you. You know, it's far easier if somebody's buying a new house to say, right, they're buying a new house, you can see what that is, like the Bruno Guimaraes situation. But I don't know what that means that Alisson's selling his house. I honestly have no idea. I don't know if he's doing it to move somewhere else. I don't know if he wants to cash in, rent somewhere while he's still at Liverpool. I have no idea. I don't know what to make of it. Isak going to Arsenal. Oh, I can see that, Alex. I could absolutely see that happening. Um, yeah. They looked at him before he even went to Newcastle. And they probably should have done the deal then when he was at Sociedad. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if he ends up at Arsenal at some point. I think it will be a smarter purchase than Ivan Toney. Ty said Alisson bought a new house. Well, see, that would make loads of sense if that's why he was selling the old one. What about Barella? Really, really quiet. I haven't heard many links for Nicolas Barella out of Inter anywhere. So, yeah, certainly don't expect him to arrive at Liverpool. But see, as a Liverpool fan, I find I check myself a lot of the time when I talk about targets because I start to think we're Liverpool Football Club and then I remember who owns us. And then I start to remember that the idea of going out there and buying an established player like Barella at the very peak of his powers, it's unusual for us to do that unless we sell somebody big and unless there's a very big need. Like when we brought in Van Dijk and Alisson, we had a glaring need in those two areas. I'd love to be wrong, but I just have no faith in our owners to back managers. I feel like managers have to be working miracles, overperforming and selling players if we want to go big. Now, to be fair, there have been a window or two where, like the last one, we spent a significant amount of money, but we spread that across 4 or 5 signings rather than 1 or 2 world-class, top-notch, here-and-now signings. Fofana from Monaco, said Orwa. The Porto guy, said Adam. Varela, is that what we're thinking of with the Porto guy? Would be heartbroken if Ryan left, love him so much. I don't want him to leave either, Casper. I want him to get more opportunities. I think it would be stupidity to sell Ryan Gravenberch. He's still a kid. Like, early 20s to me is still a kid. And he had a very broken up season with Bayern. Another one with Liverpool where his minutes have been limited. But I see potential there. And I think the right manager with the right confidence in him, he could be one hell of a player. Gyökeres, he looks a class finisher, said Duke. So, 2 things about Gyökeres. One, other than my awful pronunciation. I've no idea if there's any interest in Liverpool signing him. I haven't got a clue. But what I can say to you without any hesitation is he would come and play for Ruben Amorim because his agent did an interview recently where he spoke about the fact that the only reason he went to Lisbon is because of Ruben Amorim, and that his agent was adamant that Ruben Amorim was the one to get the best out of him, and that's why they moved there. So if we can imagine a scenario where Amorim's Liverpool manager and he wants another striker and he looks for Gyökeres, then I would imagine he'd come because of the admiration for Ruben Amorim. What about Chiesa as a Salah replacement? Again, when we think of replacements, I think we need to stop thinking of wingers. I think we need to start looking at the number 10 as more of a likelihood of a position we'd need to fill. And with the likes of Carvalho to come back in, with Szoboszlai, Elliott, I think we could do better than Chiesa, although I do rate Chiesa. Amorim has reportedly asked Edwards to sign Gyökeres as his first sign. Where did you read that, mate? See, I don't know if that's the case or not, but as I said to you, I feel like if it was, if I could take what you're saying as being a fact, I do think the player would come because of, one, it's Liverpool Football Club, and two, he knows the manager, and the manager has shown that he can get the best out of him. You know, he's had a great season with Sporting this season, so I have no doubt that if the interest was there, he'd be up for it. Do you think Alexis McAllister could win a Ballon d'Or in his career, especially the form he's in? Yes. I don't really care if he does or doesn't, to be honest with you, because I don't care about individual awards. But although I say that, but I was really annoyed when Van Dijk didn't win it. But yeah, look, I think Alexis McAllister, he's already a World Cup winner. I would have him and Trent as the captain, vice captain. I take it off Van Dijk. And I can't speak highly enough of Alexis McAllister. I think we absolutely robbed Brighton for him. I know he had the clause in his contract, but I think that is one of the best signings of last summer. Anywhere. He is... I love him. Love him. What about Rodrigo? Again, I would question the likelihood of Madrid cashing in, but if Mbappe comes in, you've got Mbappe, Bellingham, Endrick, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Valverde. I think maybe something might have to give there, but Rodrigo turned us down previously. We could have signed him for 3 million quid when he was at Santos, and he turned the move down because he wanted to finish his studies and win something at the club, and then he ended up going to Real Madrid. So yeah, I feel like we missed the boat on that one. Do I think Szoboszlai was worth the price so far? No. But that was answering the so far part. I have every belief that Szoboszlai will more than justify the price over time. But so far, no. Hasn't justified the price tag. But I never write anybody off after one season, because it takes some players longer than others to settle for various reasons. And I have every belief in Szoboszlai. He just needs to continue doing the right things, listen to the coaches, working hard. His ability is unquestionable. And if he gets anywhere near the levels that I think he can, I think we'll look back at it and think it was money well spent. But right now, it hasn't been the greatest of first seasons. Three points and nothing less tomorrow, said Ras. Yes, nothing less is acceptable, mate. I agree with you. Xavi Simons, what do you think about him? I think he's very good, but he'll be going back to his parent club PSG in the summer. What about Luiz from Villa? It'll be 100 million upwards. I don't think Villa would sell. I don't know if he'd want to move if Villa are in the Champions League. And I feel like that was a conversation for about 18 months ago. So not now. But he's a great player, Douglas Luiz. You know, he's had a very, very good campaign with Aston Villa. But I think there's better value to be had. What about Arda Güler from Real Madrid? So I'm going to ask the same thing I ask whenever we're linked with a player from Real Madrid. When's the last time Liverpool bought somebody from Real Madrid? It doesn't really happen. So I've not heard his name mentioned either. What about Aït-Nouri from Wolves? That could be a realistic target, yes. I don't know if things have changed since Jurgen made his announcement that he was departing, but we had been linked with Aït-Nouri for a while. Good, serious links, and I can see why. I'd have no issues if Liverpool signed him. Alfonso or Grimaldo? So Alfonso Davies is going to go to Real Madrid, and Grimaldo is 29, something like that. Too old. And again, happy, settled in Leverkusen, going to play in the Champions League next year with a manager who rates him. So be an unrealistic one. What about Pedro Neto? Again, a fantastic player. Just only concern for me on Pedro Neto would be the injuries. And also the price Wolves would be looking for him. I'd seen an article to say that Wolves would want 120 million quid for Pedro Neto, which is ludicrous. But I can see the links to Portuguese players, of course, with Ruben Amorim if he comes in, but Neto, I was concerned about those injuries, regardless of anything else. But that price tag I'd seen was just crazy. Lucas Paqueta, he's most likely going to go to Manchester City. You know, they're waiting to get confirmation on the betting charges that have gone very, very quiet around Paqueta, by the way. I don't know what's going on there. But City are looking at him in the summer, and I think if they can get confirmation that there will be no forthcoming charges against them or that they're going to go away, I think City will probably sign Paqueta. What about number 10 from Sporting? He looks amazing. Which one? Trincao? I can't remember. I don't really watch much Portuguese football. So I don't know which number 10 you're on about. I can't think of his name, mate. I don't know which one you're thinking about. Oh, Gonçalves. He's a really good player. And I remember when Bruno went to United, I remember reading from some Sporting Lisbon fans I think it was on Twitter at the time, saying that they weren't worried about losing him because they had this kid coming through. Same when Leverkusen lost, what's his face? Havertz. They weren't fussed about losing Havertz because they knew they had Florian Wirtz. And yeah. So yeah, Gonçalves, good player, but not seeing anything linking us to him. Who would I play versus Fulham? Alisson, Trent, Kwanzaa, Virgil, Robbo, Endo, McAllister, Elliott, Jota on the right, Danz through the centre, and Gakpo on the left. I would drop Salah, Darwin, and Diaz, because again, how many times can we keep putting out the same team and seeing the same players let us down? Something has to give, and I fully expect we will see the players that I've dropped playing. But for me, I'd change it up. I would. I'd go bold. So I couldn't look. If I was a coach, I just could not reward that wastefulness, and I don't see what message it sends to other players if you just keep giving those who've not taken their chances more chances. It just seems like madness to me. There's some strong rumours coming from Spain that Real Madrid want Antonio Silva. I would say that there's probably every chance that that's right, because he is one of the most sought after young centre-backs in world football and has been for a while. I think it's over €100 million as a release clause, but he'd probably be one of my top choices if I could just randomly pick a name to bring into Liverpool. Craig, did you see Pep's rant on City playing extra time twice in a week? If Klopp said this, then he's making excuses and whining. But they didn't play extra time twice in a week. So I don't understand what the ranting is about. They won in 90 minutes today, and they lost on penalties against Madrid after extra time and all. Yes, but they didn't do it today. If you could sign any player of your choice that's actually realistic, who would you pick? Depends what your class is realistic. I mean, Musiala and Wirtz are probably the top two on my list. But I don't know if you class them as realistic or not. Ali, Robbo, Trent, Kwanzaa, Verge. Gravenberch, Elliott, Maka, Lucho, Jota, Dance. I think that would be a more than fair shake-up, Tom. Yeah, I'd have no issue with that team starting either. Inaccio's a couple of shouts in the chat as well. I don't think Jones is good enough. Maybe I'm harsh. Wouldn't even get into City's bench. Keep up the good work, Craig. Thank you, Alex. So, I'm being very cautious about going in on Curtis Jones again because I went in on him for long enough and he came back and had a really good spell and, made all of us that doubted him look foolish. But at the minute, he seems to have reverted back a little bit and he's not in the greatest moment. So I don't know whether that was just a purple patch that he was going through or if he isn't good enough. But I wouldn't be playing him tomorrow, regardless. He's had enough. Him and Szoboszlai have had enough chances for me. I agree, not good enough, said Kevin John. He's out of form, but he can be better, said Sergu. We can't keep playing Mo because of his name. It's beginning to hurt us, said Danny. It's not just Mo, though. Like, I think Darwin has completely let us down this season in a lot of moments. But yes, I think him, Diaz and Salah, maybe a little bit less so Diaz, but certainly Salah and Darwin for me shouldn't be anywhere near the starting team this weekend, nor should Jones and nor should Szoboszlai. Craig, Tony's the perfect Amram striker since Gyökeres is as much a false nine as he is a target man. This brings the wingers into goal scoring positions. Tony has the qualities to do this and proven, but he's getting on in age. He wants £250,000 a week based off newspaper reports. I'm not saying Ivan Toney said that with his own words, but that's what the newspaper reported. Look, we know Ivan Toney's a Liverpool fan, so I'm sure he'd jump at the opportunity to come to Liverpool, but I've not seen much. I think Ollie Watkins would be a better alternative, but again, you're not getting him at a Villa. I like Curtis and Dominic, but they're on the bench tomorrow, said Rachel Todd. So I like Dominic Szoboszlai a lot, Rachel. I just don't think he looks himself at the minute and he looks very lethargic. Honestly, I'd love a 4-1-2-1-2 against Fulham. Elliott in the 10 and two strikers being Gakpo and Jota. That would be a whole lot of change for a very short turnaround where they wouldn't have had much time to work on it on the pitch. So I can't see that level of change. Remember, we played away Thursday, flew back home, recovery day, and I guess working on tactical stuff on the Friday, Saturday training, then game Sunday. So I don't think we would have had enough turnaround for them to work on a different system. We only need 8 more likes, by the way, to get to 500. So if you haven't dropped a like, my friends, please do. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Right, I'm going to go because I want to spend the evening with the missus because she's off work for the weekend. So I want to spend the evening with her. And I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. We'll be live at 3:30 for the watch along. We'll take you right the way through as always. Match reaction, player ratings, videos, everything you'd expect on a match day. And have yourselves a lovely Saturday night. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and drop a like if you haven't done so. And tickets are on sale for the Dublin and Belfast shows. I know you're probably sick of me saying it, but it's my job to promote them. So if you haven't already, you can scan that QR code or go on to Ticketmaster and search Anfield Agenda on there and you will find the shows. Until then, I will see you guys tomorrow, 3:30. Have a lovely Saturday night and thank you for joining me. Much